Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and welcome to episode 10 of StarFlower Journals podcast. For all of those out there that maybe don't know who I am, my name's Kerry, and I am the host of StarFlower Journals podcast. And today I have a very special guest with me, and I'm very honored. He's a very special brother of mine's. And this right here with me right now is Fred Rodriguez. So, myself and Fred have agreed that I am just going to hand the stage over to Fred because this beautiful man has a beautiful story to share with you of his journey and his path, but also beautiful knowledge and wisdom from his soul that he may wish to share with you all. So, I'm just going to hand this over to you, Fred. So, Fred,
Yeah,
stage is
yeah.
yours.
Thank you very much. I'm Fred Rodriguez. If you don't know me, also, I am here in the United States in the Colorado, just off the base of the Rocky Mountain National Parks. And it is truly an honor to be here, Carrie, to be a part of your podcast. Not long ago, we were talking about this. I knew this was one of your dreams, one of your goals to have, and there's many of us we've always supported you, and
Too
when
bad.
it come time to happen, I am honored to support, and I am honored to be a part of your dream. So uh, a big hug to you because you did it. So I'm very honored for you doing that.
Thank you.
For the world that you're just getting to meet Carrie, a very special gift. She has so much to offer, and she is one of the kindest souls that has shared so much humbleness, honesty, truth, and love. And my journey is a part of that also, because of what she's shared. So there's so much gratitude. I know I'm going to say thank you so many times that it's because it needs to be said.
Thank you.
So one of the things I'd like to let everybody know is that growing up, I've always been one to not share about myself. It's always been one of my things that I've never liked be recorded. I've never liked being on videos. However, because of this special moment, I accept and I'm honored. So when I do speak, um, I'm going to be speaking because she had asked, it's my journey. So it is my journey. So you might hear me say I, me, where in reality too, we shared our family as it's we, because it's all of us helping each other out as we grow on all of our journeys. So my life has been a true blessing. I grew up, our family is from southern United States and Texas. We have also Aztec background and some indigenous blood in our family. And I have been gifted with a grandparents on both sides, and my mother and father, where we had a lot of positive discipline and a lot of teachings and a lot of examples of how to be the best that you can be. And in doing that, it was just like a solo ride, just go and have fun. That was the main thing of our life is learn, live, laugh, but to have fun. And I got to do a lot of that, knowing that our family had a lot of background um, in the outdoors. I got to be uh, connected with the animals and the spirits and the plants and animals through hunting and the fishing on a regular. We have been cooking uh, thousands and thousands of hours of being outside. Just it was my life growing up, being a little boy, and the journey. Being small, we would always play together as my cousins and my uncles, and we were always going out anywhere outside because back then you could go outside. You could go outside late at night and not have to worry about anybody harming you. And got to do a lot of learning path where I got to be in the scouting program, the Boy Scout, Cub Scout program, Boy Scout program. And with the teachings of my family, that also brought me to the scouting program of learning a little bit more of organized type uh, teachings, survival teachings, camping teachings and skills. And I did a lot of that until I finally got to the place where I achieved the Eagle Scout Award, and that's one of the highest ranks in the scouting program. And it was just a dream, and it was always a desire to do the best that I could do as being a little boy. So that was always my goal. And part of that goal too was always a boundary and obstacle was not wanting to be in front of anybody and talking and recording. I put myself in places where I would have to. So I got to be through the Boy Scout program, the OA, the Order of the Arrow, which is a part of the Boy Scout program. I got to be the chapter chief, which is a representative of a certain group in our Order of the Arrow group, and then also a dance team of the fancy dancers. We would go to different cities and different states and perform as a Boy Scout unit with our dancing regalia, with the fire hoop dance, the fancy dance, the shawls, and all the bustles and the head roaches. So that right there, is kind of did the spark for myself of learning a little bit more of. There was something that was in my spirit that I didn't really know about, and that come out later in my life. That being in the scouting program at the same time, I was also connected with the agriculture and the farmland, and where I got into a program called the FFA. Have you ever heard of the FFA, the Future Farmers of America?
No.
No. Yeah, it's a group that teaches youth and individuals of how to be productive and useful in society, of marketing different agricultural animals,
Okay.
growing different types of corns and beans, and harvesting, how to be farmers and ranchers. So as a young student, I got to be in the FFA, and then actually was the FFA president at the same time. And then at the same time, not being wanting to be in front of everybody, I put myself in the student council program in school,
Okay.
and I was the school parliamentarian. So my youth got very, very busy, where even though I did not want to be a part of talking and being in the front row, my spirit put me there, kept guiding me there. Says there's a reason that this is where we want you to go. So I would always listen to a inner spirit of my direction of what I needed to do. And at that time, not even really knowing what my purpose was going to be, because I was just undecided what I was going to be doing in high school. So there was a lot of learning and a lot of growing up and maturing, being in the school program with my family, And then a big step came is if I wanted to go to college, and my other part says, no, we want you to go. And I joined the United States Air Force.
Okay.
So that was a big jump that I did not realize that it was going to take me to learning so many different things that still apply in my daily life. And it took me to England. So I got to spend 2 years in England, and it's kind of like an extended biography of me right now, but it's all a story of where my journey is and why I'm here. Yeah. So jump in whenever you feel if you have a question. But there's
I will.
once I got into the Air Force, I loved England. It was a beautiful country. Got to do a lot of traveling and sightseeing. And being in the Air Force too, I still continued that scouting program that I had and teaching the kids, where I became an assistant scoutmaster in the scout troop on our base.
Wow. Okay.
And that actually took me to a leadership program that is in England
Mm-hmm.
at the Brownsea Island. Have you ever heard of Brownsea Island?
Now, there's something that's recalling. I'm sure I've heard of it. Yeah, there's
Mhm.
something coming up to the forefront. I think I have.
There's a gentleman, his name was Lord Baden-Powell. Lord Baden-Powell
A
is the
relative, maybe.
individual. You got
Sorry.
it. He had the desire to teach youth in their society back in England of how to be to learn different teachings and respects and goals of how to be young men.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like a young training for military too, because it was kind of structured on military also.
Okay.
That Lord Baden Powell has an island where it's just all scouting teachings. And I got to go to that island as one of our assistant scoutmaster. So going from a little boy at 8 years old, going in the Cub Scouts, and
Mm-hmm.
then through the whole scouting program, I actually got to go to Brownsea Island. So to me, that was a big achievement
Yeah,
at
that
that time, only being 18 years old at that time.
wow.
Um,
It's
yeah.
incredible.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, Fred, you're talking about your childhood and the experiences, the adventures, and you mentioned your spirit and you mentioned
Hmm.
your spirit calling.
Hmm.
Did you always have that when you were a child, or was that just like through your experiences and your adventures in the agriculture? Like that was opening your spirit up, or how did that come about for you?
Uh, I grew up knowing that we all had an inner spirit. We all knew that there was a spirit around us. In our family, in our history,
Yeah.
is you know, on my dad's side, there's three aunts that are midwives of the small town, which gave birth to like 80% of the town.
Wow.
They were known to be, they were in a good way. They were witches, and they knew a lot of ceremonies. They knew a lot of rituals, but they knew how to use a lot of rituals in a good way,
Mm-hmm.
because people in the family in the town would always go to them to help them for curing and for healing, and
Okay.
they needed to understand what they were dealing with. So that's why they got to expand on that. So I grew up with that being in our family and that background, mhm, with
Yeah.
the different the teas and the herbs and the songs and ceremonies. So I grew up with it like that. But
Wow.
through the years, then it really started expanding as I started getting through different places in my life. Yeah. But at first, that was that inner spirit that I knew I had,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't question it. But the only thing I did needed to do was know that I just had to have fun. I didn't get into trouble. I wasn't one to do the drinking and the smoking and the cussing, the lying or stealing. I was, I kept myself with. friends and family that were who wanted to just enjoy and have fun, and that's what we did. Mhm. But there'd be times that yeah, we would go in families as with some relatives, and we would dabble in a little bit of the calling in of the spirits,
Okay.
and yeah, and that was at an earlier age.
Okay.
So yeah.
Can you share what that means? Because that's fascinating, like calling in the spirits. So
Hmm.
how would you explain that?
Yeah, we knew at that time what our relatives had been doing. We had heard about it. We had never experienced it. And one night when everyone was out, we were at one of my family members' house late at night, 2 o'clock. We were just up and we started doing some dabbling. And we had some little figurines in front of us as we were in a circle. And we were type of doing a ceremony and kind of not realizing what we were doing, but we actually called in the spirit that came in and it opened up the floor in front of us as if there was a hole in a void. And it was so fast and went deep at purple blue in a flash. And being, I think at that time we were maybe 8 years old,
Oh,
7 years old. We all jumped back, started turning on lights and saying, we're never going to do that again. And yeah, that was,
that must
so
have
that was,
an experience, like at eight
that
years
was,
old.
yeah, that was the beginning of knowing that you have to be aware of what you do because we were dabbling in something we didn't really understand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. So like you
Mhm.
could physically see it, the floor
Yeah,
just
yeah. We had a small candle out on the floor and had some little figurine that my cousin had,
Mhm.
and I don't remember who started it. It was she, but some words were said and a little little saying.
Mhm.
And then next thing you know, it did not take long, and that floor just, it was already dark anyway, because
Yeah.
it had to be right. So we turned all the lights off.
Wow.
And it was magical. Yeah, it was the purple and the blue and the darkness. And as if the floor just evaporated and there was a void. Instead of looking up in the universe, we were looking down.
In,
Yeah. Mhm.
into the universe, would you say the universe?
It wasn't the universe down low. It would have that color effect as if we were looking down. Mhm. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was one of the first times that I had got to being a little boy,
Mm,
feeling the spirits and the energies. Yeah. And then later, as growing up, then we got to see the different intentions of the healings and the prayers
mhm.
and the ceremonies that my grandma and my grandpa would do. Most of them were always at my grandma's house and my grandpa's. Mhm. Mhm.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
like they gave you, hold on 2 seconds.
Mhm.
We have a dog called Bear
He's
yapping in the back.
yes, they
Bear, come here.
he's a cutie.
Boy.
He's a cutie.
Boy. Okay, you're putting in your tuppence worth. So your your grandparents, they like teaching you the prayers and the certain healings and the aunt and all that information and that knowledge that you had from a young age. Like to me that's phenomenal because majority, and I speak for myself, I had no knowledge or no wisdom or that shut me down. So it's almost like from the minute you entered this earth, you entered Gaia,
Mhm.
um you honored that. Like that was an honor to be in contact with that spirit. That was an honor to, you never questioned it. You always knew that there was something more than what, society, humanity perceives.
Mhm.
So the wisdom from your grandparents,
Yeah.
that like was it ancestral? Can I ask? You don't have to like share anything
Yeah.
you don't feel comfortable in sharing, Fred, but
Yes.
um
Yes. Mhm.
the grandparents, like, was it ancestral information? Was it like ancestral prayers? Like, how did that, sorry about this,
Yeah,
that all
it, it was it was ancestral because it was even through history of being told that that's how my great grandpas, my great grandparents also were doing the same teachings and same ceremonies. So it was ceremonies that were handed down, and
Mhm.
that's why now it's important that that's where that had been handed to our family, and then now that's where I am learning as much as I can and retaining as much as I can so that I can share it
Share that.
to our family, and then now sharing it with you now with the good spirits and good people that are out there listening to this podcast too. That they take something that's being said here in a
Yeah.
positive way and learn from it and carry that humbleness, that honesty, that truth, the healing, and
Mhm.
the capabilities that there is peace out there. You just have to harness it and take care of it. But yeah, with my parents, my grandparents too, there's our family, we were always together, and they taught us how to use something that a lot of people don't use in the right way, and that's the voice. Where at that time frame, our family came from Texas and then moved to Colorado, and we moved with the fields, with the sugar beets and the onions and the harvesting. So there was a lot of racism back in that days, but there was also too there's a certain way that our relatives taught us how to get across what you need in a positive way. So they were very instrumental of gathering families together and doing walks and talks and talking to different individuals so that we could all come back and live in balance, and find housing and food for our families that would come here for the harvest season. And and we're still going through that. But there's a lot of sacred voices out there that they don't talk in the right way now. There's a lot of negativity out there. So my
Mhm.
parents and my family showed me and taught me of how to use your energy in a right way and
Yeah.
how to carry yourself as a gentleman, carry yourself as a protector, but carry yourself as a, so that you know I've always been one that I don't bow down to anyone, and I never will. However, when there's a little one of the grandkids are running up to me, I will kneel down and I'll put my hands out to give them a hug, because then I'm putting myself down as a lower level and greeting them, with that heart space. So
Yeah.
that's how I grew up. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Hold on 2 seconds, Fred.
Mm-hmm.
2 seconds, Fred.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, and that's where here with Carrie, I've always admired how when she has so much respect for what she does and carries herself, that she always makes the time and takes the time to take care of her household and her family and her daughters. And that is such a good, that's the things that I see as, when I first met you, I was already on a good journey. And when I met you, Stacy had asked me to listen to some of the podcasts or some of the Patreons with Joanne, and then I got to meet you, and then Laura. And at that time, it's because I was asked to maybe learn a little bit more and expand my learning and maybe help her understand my communication skills, and to see where Stacy was at too. And but coming to meet you and listening to you, I knew there was something about you. I always shared that there's something about Carrie. I'd show it Stacy, says there's something about Carrie that uh, it just feels good listening to you and seeing you smile. And then when it does come to the time you have the sad moments,
Mhm.
we're there for you. But there also too, we need to let you to cry because sometimes you need to cry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Fred, I find it really interesting because do you know how you were talking about the world and the world maybe see things in a more negative state than what you've experienced in your life. Um, in this world that majority of us live in teaches us that it's not okay to cry, that it's not okay to let go, and it's not okay to show your vulnerability, that that's a form of weakness. That's what I
Mhm.
experience of it. It's maybe not everybody's experience of that, but it certainly has been my experience. So thank you for saying that because even now,
Mhm.
Fred, sometimes I find it really uncomfortable in allowing myself to be vulnerable.
Oh, yes.
Um,
Mhm.
allowing everybody to really see everything that there is about myself. And every day that's a journey, Fred.
Oh, yes.
Um,
Yes. Mhm.
some days I think I do know who I am, and other
Mhm.
days not so much.
Mhm.
I question, like, who is the authentic me?
Mhm.
And maybe this is something that you can maybe share as well with regards to the teachings and the knowledge that you know, because it feels like, and I can see, like, just from you're talking about your childhood and then going up into your adulthood and your parents and your grandparents and how you were brought up is completely different, shall we say, to majority of this world and how they're brought or have been brought up, how they've been taught, how like certain things. Because for me, from living and growing up in Scotland, we were never taught about agriculture. We were never taught about the lands. We weren't taught about ancestors. We were taught your English must be good, your maths must be good, you have to achieve good grades. When you leave school, you go to college. When you go leave college, you end up getting a good job, you end up meeting someone, you get married, you work until you die, and then that's your life.
Mhm. Yes.
And anybody who thought out with that was perceived as different, weird, crazy, schizophrenic, or, just they've lost a few marbles or two. And that's how, and I've been brought up in this world, and that's maybe what majority of the people that are watching this have been brought up. So I find it like everything you're sharing, like you haven't even delved like onto the surface even with your knowledge and with your wisdom. And I'm so honored that you're here sharing like your journey and your experience, because for me, the way you've been brought up, the way you've been guided and shown in this world from your aunts, your grandparents, your parents, that is like an honor. That's phenomenal. For me, that's heaven on earth. That's
Mhm.
like dreams, like it's like people like myself would dream of, if you know what I mean. And maybe some out there might be going, "Oh my God, like is she lost it?" But no, like this is an absolute honor to hear how you've been brought up, Fred, and like your wisdom and your experiences, because I'd feel that it's a breath of fresh air. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a breath of
Yeah.
fresh air to hear a different, perspective, where quite a lot of us that are wake up in this society and wake up in this consciousness, they're so suppressed, and it's a scary experience. And with you even talking about you calling in the spirit, and the floor opening up. Like,
Mhm.
and you knew what that was, and you knew that that was okay, and maybe you shouldn't like be dabbling with that, you know, maybe you shouldn't be, but you knew what it was. For like,
Yes.
if I were to do that at the age of 8 and I spoke about that, I'd be like
Yeah.
sent to like a lunatic asylum, like
Lunatic.
into a
No.
mental health
Hmm.
ward. If you see what I'm saying, so the
Oh, yes.
parallels,
Hmm.
the differences are vast. It's phenomenal.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
beautiful to hear your perspective and to hear your side of like how you grew up in that different world, that different parallel. And for me, that's how we all should have been brought up, that we how we all should have been taught, how we all should have been like raised in this world. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop there. You keep going,
Yeah.
Fred.
Well, there, it is like that because there's so many different cultures. There's so many different families. The, the, where it stops is where one says, "This is the only way.
Mhm.
We're the only right way." And when I got to England, I saw that right away of not knowing much of England, but when I got there, I knew there was a difference
Mhm.
because we just saw the movies of England, just like you seeing the movies of our Native American ceremonies
Mhm.
and our lifestyles. But over there, just right away, was Pink Floyd The Wall. The song was banned by the Queen.
Mhm.
I couldn't understand that. And that's where I realized, well, there's so much control that certain relatives and certain families and kids can only do certain things, and there's not a thing they could do about it. So I was fortunate that when I got over here, we don't take for granted what we have. We honor it, we respect it, and we move on for peace and balance. And it's just like here, coming into this podcast here, I have so much respect for the ceremonies that I was taught in from the Lakota. They taught us so much and shared so much ceremonies that I sat into a lodge with one of our leaders, Chief Black Belt, and I talked to him before I came into this podcast just the other day. We sat into a sacred lodge with him, and I had a one-on-one with him to share with him the of what I would be talking about and the intentions of sharing the journey, because there's a lot of families out there that don't have that, and it's not that we're the only way; it's just another way of how to help them.
Mhm.
And being listening to your Patreon and your channel, that's what I like when I make the time to listen and be a part. Is there's so many good hearts out there, so many that are with us that are sharing their teaching, their different the different stones, different cards, different herbs, different teachings, emotions. And that's big for me, the emotions part,
Mhm.
because as a male, and I don't speak for all the males, I want to make that clear. I don't speak on behalf of the men. I'm just speaking on behalf of my male energy. Is I grew up where you share, you be truthful, that yeah, we were taught you just buckle up, you don't cry. And if we did, it's because we did something wrong. And
Mhm.
back then the discipline was not what it is anymore. That yeah, there's so many good hearts out there on your Patreon. That's why I really, really stay connected with how you create that sacred space to everybody, because knowing that it's not like that everywhere. And
Mhm.
when I get to hear that it's shared and there's so much peace throughout the world, then we are the healers. We are the ones that can instrument and keep that little spark going. Because now with technology, you're able to spread it, more of the awareness of
Yeah.
those that don't know. Mhm. Mhm.
And that's like a beautiful side of technology that, you know, these beautiful hearts, all this not knowledge and wisdom can be shared with the all. Because prior to that, nobody knew like other than reading or like reading it in books or seeing it in movies, they didn't know many other perspectives as such.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
mentioned peace, Fred.
Hmm.
For me recently, as we're recording this, we're literally recording this just straight after New Year. And I find it really interesting you're bringing up peace. And I've sat with this over the Christmas period because what I feel throughout my whole life is the journey for me is to find that peace, but the peace within the self. And I've questioned whether that's part of the journey and that's part of life because if I reflect, not that you should ever look back in the past, but if I reflect back to the past, everything's always been about chaos. It's always been about chaos and chaos and chaos. And what I realized over the Christmas period was that my soul's tired now with all the chaos. My soul's tired that it just seeks peace. So, and I'm pretty sure there's many others out there that feel the same way or, haven't maybe connected to that as yet. So, Fred, what's peace for you? What's your wisdom and your knowledge with regards to peace? Because peace is like a lost part of the human experience for me. Um, you forget about it. You forget about peace. You just end up doing. You don't really sit and think about peace. So, the floor is yours.
Yeah. There, peace is something that needs to be well protected. And there are so many ways to protect it, that there's so many protectors out there that have dropped it and they're not sharing it with their families because there's so many intermixings, so what I found is that once I got back from England and my grandma and grandpa, they had been meeting with uh, chiefs and elders from reservations and elders from up north, and then chiefs from down in Central America and Mexico. And they would meet at her house and had council. And they shared for that peace to be happening to continue on, is that our family needed to rekindle again to help bring back some of the ceremonies. And I was asked by my grandma and grandpa to pick up a chanupa, is the sacred, the, the peace. We don't say pipe because there's so many words for pipe. But the chanupa is a sacred instrument, sacred tool they use for smoking a red willow bark. And when you smoke it, you're offering your prayer for peace and balance. So, in picking up that chanupa and learning so many ceremonies, I got to learn so many different teachings through the Native American history and ceremonies through elders. And one of them is if you get a chance, is the medicine hoop, the medicine wheel. And it's the circle and it has the plus in the center, but it has the colors of black, red, yellow, and white. And part of that teaching is to help with peace is to always keep yourself in balance as best you can. Stand in the center of your universe, of your spirit, and but always honoring your families that have been here before us. Just like before we started recording, I asked that we could say a prayer song. So I was honoring my spirits and my helpers that have passed on to help me in this recording. And then we also have the direction of the north, which is the red, and that's the people, our relatives and our families, the blood. We are all related. And then the third direction is the east, is the yellow, is the teachings of new beginnings, new life, the morning star, the sun coming up, which is the opposite of the black where the sun sets. And then the fourth would be the white on the bottom is the purity, where you completed the full circle, just as if you were born a little baby boy, a little baby girl. We're as pure and plain as best as we can. And that's what we try to do as peace, is stay as humble and honest and compassionate and loving as best we can. And that's even protecting our family too. So it's important to stay in balance as best you can, but then also honoring to the above and the below of I love how you do when you make your paintings and your drawings. You what you do with the crystals and your designs, your patterns, um, I really take my time to look at your designs and your patterns that you have, the geometry that's in it, because it's breathtaking. And that right there is the help for someone to learn how to keep themselves in balance of the spirits above, which is the blue. And then there's the color of the green below is the earth and the plants and the trees. So we have all these directions, but there's the center that's hovering in all those energies. That's our self spirit. That's our inner spirit. So when you do your best to find your inner spirit, um, it's a challenge to stay there. It's definitely because life is always throwing you different things when you least expect it, or like now, you expected this to happen one day and it happened.
Yeah,
And I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you doing what you're doing here. And that's why I'm excited and happy to be a part of this and willing to share a little bit more of myself, because I'm a part of that piece that you're trying to find, you know. So, yeah, I just ask that the world takes a little bit of what you're sharing here and carry it and continued it on, because there are someone out there that have barely started to find uh, a little direction. And if you're it, that's then what you're doing is what they needed to hear, and everything is all worth it. But at the same time, too, when you are honest, you and I'm honest too, where when I have things that are going on in my life, it just throws me and rocks my world,
yeah,
and I have to deal with that and work with it. So we all have different things that go on, you know.
yeah,
When I have a daughter as a 14. When she passed away, it rocked my world. But at the same time, too, I had to remember that I still have other family members that still need me, my inner spirit, so that I can be there for them. And at the same time, too, then we had to learn of what had happened, why it happened, and the healing and the mending. And sometimes that inner peace is hard to find because you're going through so much of that hurt and the trauma. So but that's why here, what you've created this space is there's so many different avenues of how to find it,
yeah,
through frequencies and music, the different vibrations of colors and lights, different sound frequencies, just words, um, just the safety net of family getting together, on your podcast, on your Patreons. Even that's a blessing at times. That's what I need. Mhm.
yeah, the
Mhm.
community,
Yeah.
because society, the world has lost its community.
Hmm.
So the way to create that community is by being the community, is
Yeah.
having that compassion, having that understanding, that, the non-judgment. And we're all guilty of it. Let's put our hands up, we're all guilty of that judgment. um but appreciating that everything and everyone is different but also connected. Like, our hearts, we're all the same. Our hearts, our bodies, like we're all connected. There's not one person out there that isn't part of this world. And it's community, but we've lost that sense of community over the years. So
Mhm.
I agree with you there. It's like for me, looking back through all that chaos, I didn't have community. I had false friends, fake ideologies, um, self disconnect. Didn't know who I was, Fred. I've mentioned this in many podcasts. Still, to a degree, I don't know who I fully am because I'm in the energy now of I'm no longer a doer. I am, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. And it's almost like, here's a question for you, Fred. Time.
Mhm.
There is a lot coming up for me right now with regards to time and what that means. Can I ask if you can share what's the knowledge and wisdom in your world with regards to time?
You know, a few years back, I'm also honored to be a sun dancer and Sundance helper for 20 years, a helper in the harbor. One of our ceremonies we do is we go on Hamblecha, the vision quest. And that's what we, in our place for our families up on a hill, a sacred place for 4 days, 2 days, 2 nights, no food, no water, to sit in the sacred altar in a buffalo skull and chanupa, and the spirit food, just to connect with the creator and that prayer. And when I was up there, um, you have to prepare to not come back. That's how, that's the importance of that ceremony is you have to do everything you can to prepare for it because you might not come back. The spirits may take you, you know, that's how sacred it is. And it was 118 degrees during the days, and it took a lot out of me. And on the fourth day, when I was still in the prayer, and I was going, and I knew that it was a very important prayer. I had to be up there for a reason. And when it was almost time for me to actually for that heartbeat to stop, it was that slow. I looked over at the ridge, and there's four spirits that are standing that stood up over that ridge, and they were in black. They had a robe over them. And I'm sharing this because it is sacred, and I can share my visions, I can share my dreams. And I looked at toward those four spirits, and they looked down at me, and they reached and they offered their hand. They says, "Are you ready to come with us?" And I knew who they were. It was our relatives from the that have passed on into the spirit world. It was that connection. Where I'd go from them, that's where they were going to take me. You know? And I knew it was a good place to go to. But I says, I'm not ready. So I pulled my hand back. I said, it's not time for me to go because I have too much to do here on this earth. And they bowed, shook their hand, and then they're gone. And then about 20 minutes later, my relatives, my uncles and Stacy and my family came and picked me up to take me back into the lodge and to do the 4 doors of sweating me to reconnect from to connect myself into this reality in this earth world because that's what happens when you go into ceremony. So time is how far is time? You time travel, or is it do you want to do the human clock, you know, or do you want to do generational, you know? So it that's a hard question. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different things. But,
For me, I've realized in terms of time. So, okay, 2024 was a year, Fred, where I put a lot of pressure on myself and I pushed and I, there was a few times I got knocked on my backside by the universe, even recently,
mm,
because I was overwhelming myself and I was burning myself out, right? So, in terms of time, and it's only just this very evening that having a discussion with the beautiful hearts in within the Patreon community, the Patreon family, that the penny dropped. And I realized, Fred, that I live my life by time, and time puts pressure on me. It's almost like a limitation as such. So let's go back to prior when there wasn't time, when there wasn't watches, when there wasn't
mm,
more mobile phones, when there wasn't anything like that to gauge time. You used your spirit to gauge
mhm,
time. You used the sun, you used the moon, you used sunrise, you used sunset as time. And it's like, and it was a beautiful member within like a soul sister that was speaking about this. And I went, even feeling into that, it feels so free not to live life by time and
mhm,
just be in that presence. And it was almost like the ancestors, they lived in that presence. They didn't go, right, well, we need to do this lodge by 10 o'clock tonight, so we need to be in bed by 12. They didn't do that. They went with the flow. Correct me if I'm wrong. They
oh,
went
you're
with
right.
their
You're right.
spirit. They went with that. They went with their peace. That's another
Mhm,
thing as well. They were in peace.
mhm,
Okay, there may
mhm,
be a couple of things that came up, but it wasn't like anything to the extreme that we all have to deal with on our daily basis. Bills, taxes, like paying for food. Like the ancestors didn't do that. They hunted for their food. They farmed
mhm,
their own food. They grew their food. And it's almost like society's completely disconnected from that completely.
mhm,
And that's what I mean by chaos. And it brings so much, it doesn't bring peace.
mhm,
And I feel now like I'm so glad I had this conversation tonight before I had this conversation with yourself today, Fred, because there's something so beautiful in coming to that realization is that why do we let time rule our life? It's ruled my whole life, Fred. I don't allow myself to sit at peace because I've always got something to do or I've always got something to do by a certain time.
mhm. Yes.
And I'm getting emotional thinking about it because everybody that I know, bar a few of those that are on that consciousness level that have made that connection, do this on a daily basis.
Mhm, yes.
And I'm like, whoa, like,
How how do they do that? Yeah. Where do they find the time?
yeah,
Yes. And you're amazed by it. And then there's many that say, well, I want to do the same thing. And then they're have jumped on that and they're trying to catch the waves. But you have a spirit that when there's a spark, you keep going. And yes, I know at times I've seen where you're doing this, you're doing that, but your results are just powerful. And because of what you do, you sparked something in myself when I was recovering and I first met you through your paintings. I had a drum that I had to reskin where it sparked something with me where I started making drums.
Mhm.
And I knew the importance of commitment, that if I make a commitment, then I start, like some wanted to buy the drums.
Mhm.
I wasn't comfortable doing that because I knew once I get into selling the drums, that's a commitment. And then it's no longer a love and a peaceful thing to do. Now I have 2 days to get it in this, to get it shipped. I have 2 days so that they can have it for their event. And right now, my time is valuable for what I need to do as a water pourer, as a grandpa, as a husband, as friends here. So I made 12 drums, but I was giving them away as giveaways to relatives and families that were helping me out through my journey at that time. And that's why you and Laura received one. That's why I made one for Joanne, you know. So I didn't do it as a monetary if I had to in that step. But what you're doing is so powerful. And that's why I'm coming on here, because for your listeners and viewers to realize what you're capable of doing and what you have been doing is to helping you, purchase your items, go into your websites and get the paintings and get the blankets and have those blankets on you of what you're creating. There's a lot of energy. The paintings of the Philip Joe, you know. So for somebody to help you in that way, it's going to help you so that you are better able to balance your time. You know. So if I could, there's a story that I wanted to share with my teachings. Is I had a dream one night about the world being in chaos, and pretty similar to what it's going to be soon, I feel. Is I was in a dream, and it was a dark, cloudy, hazy, smoky environment. I got off a plane, and someone picked me up on a motorcycle, threw me a helmet, and said, "Let's go." Put a leather jacket on, and we down through the hills and the valleys, and there's fighting going on, munitions and rifles and explosions. This motorcycle rider was dodging everything and took me into this village. And when I got into that village, I took my helmet off, and she took her helmet off, and she was walking me up this pathway, and there was rows of family, um, as if I was going to the Celtic type forest
Yeah.
and hillsides.
Yeah.
And all the relatives on the side were saying, "That's him. That's the one they were talking about." And I didn't know what they meant. And as I was getting closer, they said, "Yeah, he has knowledge of the key of how to help us." And I didn't know what they were referring to, because I always try to keep myself humble. I always do. But they took me into a cave, and in that cave, the long tunnel, it started to get bigger. There was candles on the sides of the walls and going very deep inside. And there was quartz benches as we walked through the hallways or the tunnels. And we got into one area, and it opened up, and it was still dark, but you could still see the outline of the walls. And there was three kind of like your drawings with your observers that you had seen and
Mhm.
that you had drawn, but mine were in gray. They had a gray robe on.
Okay.
And when they saw me, they guided me with their hands. They had long fingers. They guided me, and we walked in closer. And when they moved to the side, there was a beam of light, probably about this wide,
Mhm.
turquoise,
Okay.
bright, neon, from the floor straight up to the ceiling. Powerful. You can feel the vibration. And they says, this energy is to help us, but they didn't know the key. And I don't know what it is, but I went up to it and I reached to it and I grabbed a hold of the beam and I pulled a disc out. And when I pulled a disc out, I remember going like this. It's the medicine hoop. This is what's going to help the people for peace. Is the medicine hoop.
Whoa.
See, so there's so much teaching in this for our journey. And if this will help somebody in your journey, this is what I was taught. This is what I was shown by the universe, by those spirits.
Peace.
So when somebody says, is there aliens out there? What do you believe? I know what I saw.
Mm.
I'm not going to, I don't need to convince you. I'm just telling you what I saw. But when I saw this here, I knew that everything that we have done here on our side, myself and Stacy and my aunts and my uncles, I now have granddaughters and grandsons that are in ceremonies too, and going into the arbor, going into the altar. Uh, it's a beginning. We have to start somewhere. And if you have a teaching,
Mhm.
carry it, hold on to it, protect it, and share it.
And
So
share.
that would, mhm, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, it's beautiful, Fred. That
Mhm.
feels that feels right because it just feels right now. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and I'm in a space now where I just observe. I don't interact, I don't feed into that energy. I observe and I focus on myself. And I focus on my reality as such. Um, but the medicine wheel and how you described it earlier could help people so much in finding that cycle in life and finding that cycle with regards to awakening in their consciousness. And it was
Mhm.
interesting you're mentioning, I don't know, Lakota tribe, maybe.
Lakota.
Yeah, the Lakota. Can I ask? You don't have to answer. Do they call them light beings or is it star beings? Um, you don't have to answer,
Mhm.
if you're not comfortable, because and you've brought a memory back to me. Um, back in before I was even consciously aware that I was awake, even to my spirituality, I was in dream time. Now I've always had vivid dreams, and I don't think I've shared this with the like out into the world, but I'm gonna share it because I feel it's important. And it was before 2012, it was before then, and I was in dream time, and I remember standing on top of a hill in Scotland, and I was looking down into a village, and I could see lots of craft. And I remember being aware of this in the dream going, what am I looking at right now? And they're light ships, right? UFOs, starships, whatever you want to call them, they were light ships. And there were beings in cloaks hovering around, okay? Now, what really caught my attention was that there was these colorful platforms that looked a little bit like your medicine wheel. These colorful platforms and people, there was rows of people and they were standing on the platforms. Now, bearing in mind, this is 2011 and they were standing on the platforms. And I remember going, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? And I remember just focusing, and there was one particular being that was staring right at me. And he said to me, use your mind to communicate. And he started communicating telepathically to me. And I was getting a bit freaked out, even in the dream time. I was like freaking out a little bit. And he said that they were here to, with regards to our DNA and our cellular, because society as we know it is coming to an end, and that they were creating another world as such elsewhere, and they needed particular beings like humans that had a particular form of DNA, etc., to carry forth into creating or carrying on the other world, right? So I woke up going, what the fuff is that? What is that all about, right? So I was really confused. I was freaked out a little bit. So then roll on to 2020 when I have my like full-blown consciousness awakening. I see the blue being, Philip Joe. He comes, meridians, here to heal you. And then I paint a painting for, it was for Lionsgate 2023, and they were talking to me about the key. Can you remember?
Mhm.
And they were all, if you go and look at my website right now, you'll see the Lionsgate 2023, and there's five blue beings, five Arcturians, I believe, and you've got the sun, and you've got a stargate behind them, and they were talking about the key. But they were also going right back to Nefertiti. When I was painting it, I was getting all this information through about Nefertiti and the sun god and everything. Bear in mind, I don't know this information. I don't sit and read books or study books, or if I feel pulled, I'll read a book, but I use my own discernment. I don't go, oh, that's gospel. That's how it happened, right? If that makes sense, Fred. So the point of me mentioning this is, you asked, do I believe in aliens? Do I believe in light beings? Do I believe in star beings? Absolutely. Because back in 2012, I wasn't, or I think it was 2012, or was it before 20, was it 2008? No, I think it was before 2012. I think it was like 2008, because it was 2010. Anyway, let's not think about that. It was round about the time we were coming up to 2012, and I had no, like, I'd always had an interest in star beings or like UFOs or aliens, but never did I ever experience anything like that. But back prior to now, this is interesting. Now I'm really sharing something with the world. Sorry, Fred, and I'm gonna ask your input and your interpretation with this,
Okay.
right? I was like, oh, the stage is yours, and all I'm doing is talking. I'm just excited, right?
No, 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 it's good. Yeah.
Um, I actually have. Am I okay to share this? Tarush Tarira Rasna Rasna. I'm okay, right. Um, there was a moment that something happened to me, and I'm not going to talk about. No, I have to. Right, I've got photographic evidence of something happening to me. Okay. Now, back then, I was very confused. I was very scared as to what had actually happened. But then it transpires that there was a symbol given to me. And then I drew the symbol. I didn't know what the symbol meant. I had no clue what it was. But now I understand what it was. And it was the literally were, because I wasn't kind of like wakening up, they were kind of like edging me to awaken Fred. So it's almost like the knowledge was being passed on to me. It's like a key. It was like
Mm.
wakey wakey, wakey wakey. And I've always felt like I've been connected to the stars from a little girl. I've always had that connection to the stars. I've always looked up at the stars. I've always had this knowledge or something. There's something more to life than what I know. And there's always been this deep, fast interest into, extraterrestrials, UFOs, alien movies, Star Wars, any space movies, any sci-fi movies, because that felt like home. That felt like home. So I find it really interesting that you also have a dream of the light beings and you're the key and you pull out the medicine wheel, because what I saw prior to that, and bearing in mind, me and Fred's not had this conversation. I didn't even know he had this dream. Prior to that was they were showing me something very similar to the medicine wheel. It's just a round platform and it was all lit up and it was all different colours, but very bright, vivid colours. And they were standing on this platform, the being like humans, and that they could tell your DNA, your ancestral, your soul, like they could tell things from this. I didn't have a clue what that was back then. I had no idea. So I'm glad it's beautiful. We're going round in circles, but the fact that they've shared that message with you, that peace through the medicine wheel, and there's a lot that could be taught through the medicine wheel.
Yeah. And just imagine how many keys are out there. And there more than likely there's going to be some that are listening here that never knew about it. And now that key's going to come to light. It's going to present themselves again. So I knew when I had met you that first time on one of the podcasts, there was something about your energy and what was shown to you. And I had mentioned it to Stacy. And yeah, you also have one of the keys. You have that spirit. You have that energy. You have that same vision and the same feelings. But because of society, we're guarded. We're really, really guarded because it's amazing how there's someone out there that's willing to just take you down, and that's what the key is trying to do. Is not to It's trying to break that feeling down, trying to negate all those negatives and turn it into something positive. And you're a blessing.
Oh,
You are a gift, and I say that in a humble way. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
we are also, we all are in our own little way as such. We all have something to add. We all have something to do. This is why we're here. And this
Yeah.
is what
See,
this
I always know that the children are the gifted ones, where there's different energies and spirits that'll approach the children in a positive way because they know that they're pure and they trust them. And we're the ones that they're guarded from because we as humans have torn them down. There's so many others have ridiculed and said so many negative things. So that's why they hide. That's why they hide in the forest. That's why they hide in the seas. That's why they hide in the skies. You know, but it's that trust. And our teachings too is what's helped my journey. Is just like you have the deck of the cards, the animal cards, the reading cards. One of the Sundance leaders, intercessors, was that I had was one of the chiefs that helped create those cards, the animal cards, where
wow.
he would share with the creator, share the energies of every animal, what they have energetically and spiritually and mindfully of what that animal is capable of doing. Because on this earth, every animal is brought here for a reason and for a purpose. Every animal has an intention, so when growing up, I I don't know why. I know why, but I never knew I could take care of horses. Well, I bought two horses, and one of them was a 7-month-old colt. And because of teachings, you have to learn how to live with, and read the animal and live with them and feel them. That helped me to build trust. I had to not fight what I was fighting, and the horses taught me that. And then you have the dogs. The dog is to help teach you with the loyalty and protection. So when you were talking about time, one of the animal spirits that came up in my mind is to share with you is you learned a little bit more of the turtle. Because the turtle, if you really look at the painted turtle drawing, um, four is a very important number to us. You have the four legs, you have the circle with the shell, but then you also have it has on the outer edge of the shell, there's 28 little rings, and then there's 7 rings in the center. Or there's 12 because you have 12, 13, I'm sorry, 13 because you have 13 moons. And then you have 28 days of your cycle in the moon. So that there's to teach you how to organize your timing is to learn the turtle medicine. So that taps into a whole different conversation too. Yeah.
Okay, right, hold on a wee minute. I'm just having a realization as you're talking about this.
Hmm.
Right, okay, 2 seconds. Let me process this.
Okay.
Whoa, okay, my top of my head's going nuts.
Be-
So whenever the top
because the
top of my head goes nuts.
the the turtle is the energy of longevity.
Okay.
There's some turtles that have been here for hundreds of years and they're still alive because they teach longevity. And to help you with your life cycle, to be at peace, learning how to take care of just like the full moons, the
Mm-hmm.
13 moons. There's the 4 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
but then there's also to learn how, and I'll ask Stacy to get with you more on this about the women's energy, the women's cycle. But that's something that I would recommend that you learn.
Okay, right. Right, hold on. So the painting that I've just created for the winter solstice, did you look at it, Fred?
Hmm.
Right. Did you see I had 28 flower of lives in that painting?
I didn't count that many. I'd
Okay.
studied it. I
Okay.
studied it.
When
Yeah.
I first do it, you'll see it on the time lapse, which I've still to do and still create. In the time lapse, I first drew 28 flower of lives. Then I was shown to put the elements on to the flower of lives. So you had ether, fire, air, earth, and water. And it connected into the triacontrahedron. What was it called? Oh, the distiachus triacontrahedron, which is, I feel, also a very important sacred geometry, okay? The holy grail of consciousness. But it's also the 120 faced mirror, the reflection of the self, right? Reflection of time. So let's talk about, I'm loving this, Fred. How long have you got? Right. So okay, right, the penny's dropping for me, right? So the reflection of, the facets of the self. So when you look at the facets of the self, you go through time, right? You go
Hmm.
through different stages of time, the different versions of yourself through that time. So recently, I've had dreams where I have been time traveling. Okay, bear with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time traveling. And I was sharing this again with our beautiful Patreon family. And I was time traveling, but I was teleporting and I could feel myself teleport. I actually woke up because I felt my body teleporting. And I had teleported to the 19th of December 2022.
Mm.
And when I was in the 19th of December 2022, I was looking over a bridge into a river, a lake. and I could see all these stepping stones going into the void, right? And I noticed the water was very calm, just like the water behind you in that beautiful scenery
Mhm.
behind you, Fred, mountains. And the water was very calm. And I remember thinking to myself, I've I have to share the knowledge that I know now with others. It's like I know what's going to happen 2 years from now, and I have to share that knowledge with others, right? It's really strange.
Mhm.
But then I was teleporting back to current time, and I was finding the energy to do it, and I was gathering all the energy because they were showing me how to do that. So I was teleporting back to time, but they wouldn't let me go anywhere past the 22nd of December 2024. The winter solstice is the 21st of December 2024. So I thought that was interesting. So you've got the 19th of December 2022 up until the 22nd of December 2024. And I've been bamboozled about this. Like, what is this? Why are they showing me this? Why are they taking me back 2 years? And I was trying to connect it. Okay, where was I at that moment in time? Where was I on a consciousness state? Where was I in an emotional state? I was like, maybe I've got some healing to do. Maybe I need to reflect back on my choices and my decisions, etc.,
Yeah.
for that past 2 years. But then, come a couple of nights later, Fred, I'm back in dream time and I'm time traveling. Now,
Mhm.
time is really important right now. And I'm time traveling, but I'm time traveling 30 years on into the future. Now, by the time everybody watches this, it's been past what I'm going to share, right?
Yeah.
So I'm end up bumping into this gentleman, and I want to say, okay, I need to sit with that. I want to say you were the gentleman, but I want, right, let me sit with that. And
Mhm.
the gentleman had said to me, have you ever helped a woman at the side of the road with a car, Fred?
Yes. Mhm.
Get up and tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are you having a laugh? Right.
No. No.
Okay.
No.
Because, right, this is what happened. So, I'm getting goosebumps. The gentleman, and I want to say it was a younger version of you, Fred.
Mhm.
Okay, hold on a wee minute. This is freaking me out. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just dropped into my reality. I'm like, it was Fred. Right. So the gentleman said, do you not recognize me? And I went, no, I didn't recognize him. And he said to me, he's like, I recognized you. I helped you at the side of the road 30 years ago when you broke down. And they showed me a vision and they showed me the guy helping me on the side of the road. So then they took me to like stones and the stones opened up. And there were like stepping stones. It was like paving stones, square paving stones, but they had like separations in between them. And there was like stone gravel underneath. And he said, follow me. I need to take you to the temple.
Mhm.
So he goes down and he shoots off. And I'm like, oh, so I goes down at the gravel and I shoot off. And we end up coming into this stone temple and he opens up this temple. I always get like
Mhm.
goosebumps up here when I'm talking. Like, it's really weird. So, um, he goes through the tunnel. There was a tunnel, right? But the tunnel was full of water, but it wasn't water. It was like a golden elixir. And you could breathe underneath it. So here's my head going again. He's going through the tunnel and I'm behind him and I'm going through the tunnel and I'm just like, what is going on here? This is weird. This is like, and I'm fully aware of what's happening. Anyway, we're going through the tunnel and I could hear water ahead and I immediately went, oh God, here we go, emotions. Because whenever I see water in dreams, it's like something to do with emotions, right? So I'm like, oh my God, there's lots of water and it looked like rough seas. But as I approached, it wasn't, it was calm. And I ended up exiting the tunnel. And when I exited the tunnel, I ended up in this beautiful square room and it was full of gold and it was full of copper. And I noticed I was flying. My feet wasn't on the ground. I didn't have boots on the ground. I was actually flying. And I could see there was a beautiful waterfall. I could see the water in the square was very calm, and there was like a fountain, like like a fountain that you see maybe in Las Vegas or something. It was like a bit like that. And I'm floating over to this desk, and there's people behind the desk. And they're like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "I don't know why I'm here." And they went, "Oh, we know who you are. You're a bit early. Come back on the 7th of January with the others." Right?
Mm. Yeah.
So you're talking about the 28. Now, there's a reason why I'm bringing this up, the 28 and the 13. Oh, there's 13 in that painting, Fred. The 28 Flower of Lives. There's 13. Is there 13 elements? I'd need to go check. There's 13 something. So, and time is coming up for me. Now, Adonis, that's on that painting, I was shown with regards to sovereign love, but others that have connected into the painting, they felt like it was the hand of God, creator. Something to do with creator, that love, that joy, that bringing back. So now I'm sitting here going, there's no coincidence
Mm.
that you're talking about 28. If it was 28 cycle, no, 28, what was it you said again, Fred? Remind me.
There's 28. You're 28 days in the women's cycle.
28 days in the women's cycle. The third, okay. The 13, oh my God. The third, right, hold on. You're seeing a real life connecting the dots right now. There's
Mm-hmm.
13 moons.
Mm-hmm.
Got Adonis, those dreams, time continuum,
Four seasons.
four
There's the
seasons.
four times of the day: the morning, afternoon.
So there's
Uh,
something about time.
there's times. Mhm. Four times of the day.
Right.
Hmm.
2025, time. Something about time for 20. This is what I feel. Please
Hmm.
use your dissonance
Yeah.
here, okay? Use your dissonance.
Hmm.
But we're talking about time, we're talking about peace.
Hmm. Here, what we talk about peace too is if you look at this here, when we do any of our ceremonies,
Mhm.
when we heat up the stones for our ceremonies, there's seven directions. There's seven colors. We'll do seven stones for honoring the east,
Mhm.
seven stones honoring the north, seven stones honoring the east, and seven stones honoring the south. 28 stones are brought in for the ceremony also. So that's how another significance of our 28 is the importance of 28.
Oh, and now my head's going
Okay,
crazy again.
yeah,
Doing
yeah.
this.
So here, there's that balance. Yes, we can. That's what makes things challenging when you start learning so many things. When you start going to different cultures, different beliefs, different podcasts, you have different families, um, and they have different teachings because the spirits tell them certain instructions, and when they go to another family, they have their instructions. So there's some confusion there too. But as long as you're doing it in a positive way, in a positive heart, there's nothing wrong with either of them,
Mhm.
nothing whatsoever. So here, that's why the importance is we honoring four, every four with the four colors, with the seven colors. You know, the black, red,
Yellow,
yellow,
white.
white, south, the blue above, and the green below. And
Mhm.
then in the center of that universe, your spirit, yourself, your energy, your inner spirit is the color purple, is in all directions. So
Whoa.
you've been shown something
Mhm.
for you to share because they have a path for you of a different way of sharing that inner peace, I feel. And that could be the connection of why I've always been, when you speak, I'm as a little boy sitting in front with little bunny slippers and cocos, all excited, you know.
It's the human, like Fred, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't know why, because the human part of me is like, you're such an idiot. Like, honestly,
Because,
but
but
there's,
that's because you're real.
Mm.
You're real and you're honest.
Yeah.
That's the important part. The inner peace is just being destroyed and shattered because there's so much ego.
Yeah.
There's no much hatred. And the part that keeps it going that rippled is because that's what's being taught to their children.
Mhm.
And other people are learning it and thinking that that's normal. You shared that with your ancestral back at home, and I saw that when I was in England. That's how yous were brought up. You know,
Mhm.
and over here, where this is how we were taught, but we see effects too of others' hatred, and yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a whole other discussion. Yeah,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
we are taught that. We are taught like my life up until 4 years, well, 5 years ago now, really, was complete
Hmm.
drama and chaos, Fred.
Hmm.
And what I'm really recognizing is that spirit, the universe, creator, will drop certain things in to test where I am at on a consciousness level, how far my soul has grown, how far, my journey has been. I was really tested over that Christmas period.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
bet myself up a little bit because I'm the type of person that would never go out of my way to hurt anyone, not intentionally.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
human part of me can make silly choices,
Hmm.
silly decisions at times. And
And flip of the fingers.
well, yeah, like, because that's the human part of me. And, I'm weird and do so, like, because at the same time, we also have to be human.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I can get really quite annoyed sometimes. Like it's really weird to describe, and I think I mentioned it in the round table discussion, is that the consciousness can be fully aware of what's going on. Um, and when you remove yourself, the ant perspective, when you remove yourself and see the vast void, and you're just this tiny little soul within this vast universe, you actually see your actions and you actually see your behaviors as such. And then
Hmm.
you can pull from that. So what am I talking about? Get to the point,
Yeah.
Kerry. When I
Yeah.
was when I was like in that muddle and being tested,
Yeah.
etc., I couldn't really see the bigger picture. I couldn't see that
Yeah.
perspective. And I've been on this journey for 5 years now, and you'd think I'd know better. So I punished myself a little bit because I was like, I should have known better. I should be doing better. I should be doing that. The thing is, and what I've learned at this moment in time is this peace. And I have been getting this huge call in to find my peace, right? And I thought I'd
Yeah.
found it. And as you go through
Mhm.
this journey, and maybe you can talk about this as well, Fred, as you go through this journey, you feel you've achieved something. You feel that you've found that knowledge, you found that wisdom, you found that peace. But what I've really come to realize is you can't find that peace unless there's peace within yourself.
Yeah.
So what does that peace look like? And the medicine
Yeah.
wheel again can maybe help with that. What is peace? Like your
Hmm.
perspective of peace could be completely different from my perspective of peace, but what is peace? Like what is peace? I
Yeah.
feel for me, peace is that freedom from time. Sorry, I'm burping now.
Mhm.
Tooth burps.
But there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
There's a reason why you burp.
yeah.
Mhm.
Freedom from time. So time is very constricting, time is very limiting. And when I look at my whole life and even up until today, time has been very constrictive. So in order for me to find my peace in 2025, I maybe need to focus in on that medicine wheel of peace.
Here's another way that I'd look at is our family is we would call that artemiguero.
Artemisia.
And artemiguero is uh, here it's going back to learning from the animal spirits, the habits of the animals and their characters. Artemiguero is, let's say you're looking at a beautiful ant pile,
Mm.
beautiful stones. After a rain, they all have their beautiful colors to it. And the ant piles have all the certain stones in place. So beautiful. And then someone goes and steps on it. All those ants coming out so fast, they're all like this. Sometimes that's the way my thoughts go. I'm thinking of so much in my life. There's so much going on, so much energy. And then you compile it with everybody around, whether it be at work or at the store or walking on the sidewalk somewhere, all that energy. That's the hormiguero, is the rustle and bustle of hundreds of energies of the ants. But their original instruction is to be at peace, is to rebuild what they know they need to do, and is take care of their home. And one by one, they place and fix and clean the tunnels. They put all the stones back until it's peaceful, and then it's calm again. So that's the armadillo. That's the animal spirit for the ant. So possibly is everybody has an original instructions, every animal, and so does every plant too. Every plant has the aromatherapy of why it was created. Why did those from above and beyond bring things to us? We're the universal beings. We're the ones that are destroying it.
Mhm.
And it's here, but we're the ones that are destroying it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And that's sad.
hmm hmm
That's sad
But
that
little by little, because of spirits that are willing to listen and grab a hold of something that's positive and humble themselves, if they're a part of that, if they're part of being the haters, if they're part of being the ones that are doing it, if they can change, then there's the healing. That's when the healing can begin. But part of our healing is on June 21st, uh, Chief Arvel Looking Horse, uh, he asked that June 21st be a set aside for Peace and Prayer Day. So
okay.
he asked that everybody that is capable to go to their sacred site, and on that sacred site and that sacred day, offer a prayer for healing, for health, and help for peace as a world community together. So that's something to look forward to if you're able to go somewhere. Is set aside, rather than it just being the summer solstice, add it to where it's also a peace and prayer day. But
Yeah,
Chief Arvo Looking Horse is the one that asked that we do that over here. hmm So it's
beautiful.
just mhm,
So if that's a calling, everyone, if you feel that,
mhm, mhm.
and how like my understanding of how that would work is it's like a unified consciousness, it's a collective
It
consciousness.
is.
If we're
hmm
all sitting there and we're all in prayer and we're all creating that peace, and I know there's been studies with regards to this, and I know there's proof and there's evidence that this actually does work.
Yes.
We're all sitting there and focusing on one thing at a particular time that causes a ripple effect, and then we can go into about the cellular and the DNA and the energetics of that. If I
Right.
set the example and create the peace within myself, that will bring peace to others, because that energy then, has an effect on their energy field as such to help them bring forward their peace, their healing, their journey. This
Yeah.
is why we
Yeah.
do. This is like why, like Fred, you're coming on here to talk, because you're bringing
Hmm.
forward those keys through your voice, through your communication, to ignite and
Hmm.
start somebody else's healing. Like I am, if you know what I mean. Like I'm doing this to help people. And listen, like not everything I say is accurate. I don't have my shit together. I don't know it all. Who does?
Yeah, correct. Hmm.
But it's like we can only share our journey, we can only share our perspectives and our experiences. And if it feels right for you at that moment in time, then go for it. Like, take it, make it
Yeah.
your own. Like, absolutely
Yeah.
make it your own. And this is something that I've learned as well. There's no right, there's no wrong.
Hmm.
Um, and as a community, the world, if we all just come together and just done that like, what could that create? How, that realities that we're creating through the unified consciousness. My thoughts, my perspective, somebody else's thoughts and perspective sends out that energy into the quantum field, and then it creates that canvas, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So there's many a thing that can be done if you choose
Hmm.
to step forward into your healing, to step into your consciousness, to expand your field, to expand your energy. And when I said like my soul was tired of
Hmm.
being my shit. Like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest, my
Yeah.
soul is tired of this human version of
Exhausted.
because she's a disaster sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm being like really authentic and real here. I
Yeah.
have to be. I have to
Yeah.
be. And it was brought to my attention. Are you walking your walk and talking your talk?
Yeah.
Like, are you walking your walk and talking your talk? And I was
Hmm.
like, well, I feel I am, but am I actually doing it?
Hmm.
Question yourself every day.
When we go into Inipis for a purification lodge, the water pourer always asks everyone that when we go in there for a purification, the four doors, you're releasing, you're letting go, you're cleansing of something that serves you no purpose, something that's throwing you out of a balance. Either
Mhm.
your, anger, fear, shame, guilt. There's something that's keeping you out of balance. And we always ask that, well, before we come out of the four doors, just leave it in the lodge. The earth will take care of it and bring it back into something positive. But what happens at times is like people getting stuck in the rut in the snow and the mud. They go right back into it as soon as they come out. They go right back in the mud. And here you are holding the toe chain. Okay, pull them out again. But if they just keep jumping back in.
I'm one of those like people, Fred, like
maybe because
but
every winter I always pull somebody out of the snow during the blizzards. I'm always one. I don't stay home when it's blizzard. I'm always driving, so I might have helped you.
well, I think you did. Maybe that's what that dream was all about. You were helping me in that dream because I feel it was you, Fred. Really weird. Um, because I keep repeating the same cycles. I keep doing the same cycles, right? So the medicine wheel cycles, correct? Wrong?
Mhm. It
So I
is. Mhm.
keep repeating the same cycle. So if I'm repeating the same cycle, there's maybe an element within my own inner medicine wheel that's out of sync. And I do feel I've connected the dots with that this evening with regards to I allow time to control my life, where I should be controlling the time myself, but it's not about control. It's about letting go. And with you saying, leave it in the lodge, let it go, and people coming back out and they don't let it go, they just go right
Yeah,
back into it. It's
yeah,
because I feel anyway, and talking from my experience and recently what I've been going through and identifying this huge cycle that I kept on playing into in 2024 was simply I can't I don't know how to. I don't know how to
yeah,
let go of control. I don't, how do
Yeah.
you do that? How do you leave it behind? How do you
Mhm.
let go? How do you let go of control? How do you
Mhm.
actually do it, Fred?
Yeah. That's knowing that you're not alone in this world, that there's always somebody there to help you, you
Mhm.
know. And that's where it's important for a water pour or an elder or teacher or a mentor or someone is to be aware of the cycles that become a habit because there's a chance that possibility there keep going there because there is something that's heavy that is pulling them back. And unfortunately, that's in the world. You have domestic violence, you have sexual abuse, you have verbal abuse. There's so many abuses out in the world where it gets to the point of times where they don't want to say anything anymore because it only makes it worse. So that's the importance of us as the healers is to be aware of that energy as it's being present, as it walks forward, as you walk by it. There's times that, you walk by somebody, you feel that person is going through something.
Mhm.
And that's where you do that mindful healing and health and help for them, you know. But I know there's also to the permission,
Mhm.
to ask for permission to do a cleansing and helping. But there are times that feels right to do that prayer and the cleansing. You do it, and it's going to help someone.
Yeah. I've been really called to I'm trying to get the
Mm-hmm.
words out, so excuse me. No, no, no.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
listen, I am really sorry if that sounds really disrespectful to the practice,
no,
but they
mm-hmm.
have beautiful versions and breathing techniques in letting go and like forgiving yourself. And
Yeah,
I was doing it to a degree, but I was pulling beautiful. I didn't realize it was actually like forgiving you. Right,
mm-hmm.
okay, this is where Kenny can be silly sometimes. I was pulling people up into my vision, my reality, and I was forgiving them and letting them go, right? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful and that's a service in itself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't doing it for myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Recently, I've been saying, I am sorry. Please forgive me. I love you and thank you. Or there's another version to it. I'm grateful. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
going every night. I just remind myself if there's like a negative thought coming in, I go, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Because I feel that we're our biggest critics and we really are quite harsh on ourselves. And I'm the type of person that will beat myself up if I hurt somebody I love. Like I like even more so now. I like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I didn't even realize that I'd hurt you. I didn't even realize that I'd done that. And I should have, like, because I'm consciously aware, I should have had that knowledge. I should have known better. But I have this trait of, I'll go and punish myself then. But
Yeah.
then I have to realize that I'm human and
Mm-hmm.
that I am going to make mistakes. That's okay, and this is how you learn. You have to make mistakes to learn, right, Fred?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
So
And
it's
the important
important.
part is if you know you make a mistake, is the apologies. So here, if I apologize if I said anything wrong to offend anyone, uh, I apologize. But if there's a feeling of it clicks and it doesn't resonate right, well, maybe there's a reason why. It's presented that yeah, apologies is a big part. You have to apologize because if not, then it becomes a bad cycle, becomes a bad
Mm,
habit. Hmm.
yeah, and what's even more like a pattern is, and from my experience and reflecting back onto 2024, that cycle that I was repeating and the universe kept going with the fish across the face, and you're not listening, you will sit in your backside until you do listen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Was that the more that I don't pay attention, the more I don't listen to the inner self. Let's go back to the medicine wheel. The inner self, the more I don't be kind to myself, the more I don't trust myself, the louder reality is gonna get until I wake up and pay attention to that. And I'm gonna
Yes.
keep being knocked down to a two, like by a two by four all the time until I actually go, enough now.
Mm-hmm.
And I do
Mm-hmm.
feel my soul is at that stage where I
Mm-hmm.
went, enough now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I do feel that that's maybe what 2025 is going to bring forth for many souls out there if they, if they're on this path. So be aware, you might get the two by four. No, you don't. Listen, as I say to my children, don't don't make the same mistakes as your mummy makes. As your mum makes.
Mhm.
Learn by example, okay? Like
That's
don't
right.
do the same stuff I do. And it was really
Mhm.
interesting because Esme said to me today, and this was a reminder from the universe, right? And I'll share this and then we'll start wrapping up because we've been on here a wee bit of time now, Fred. So I apologize. Thank you for your time and
No,
energy.
no, no apologies needed.
Now, beautiful Esme, she's turning 11 soon, and she said to me, I was beginning to have a bit of a meltdown when the guy was doing my nails, right? Now, my daughter gets her, like, she wanted her nails done for her birthday. And I find it really interesting because I'm limited in getting my own nails done, but I get my daughter's nails done. Anyway, right? So, I, I'm going to be honest. So we're getting our nails done. She's like, yeah, and he was like, and I was looking at them and they were too big and they were lumpy and they were thick and everything. And she was like, oh, I was like, I didn't know what to do. And then I remembered I just had to let go and trust the process.
Oh,
And I went,
oh,
what?
oh.
She's like, yeah. And I just had to let go and trust the process, Mum. And look at them. They're beautiful and they're perfect. They turned out exactly how I wanted them to turn out. And I'm like, I'm listening. So
Yes.
there's many signs that come through people in your life, your children, your partners, your animals. Like, maybe that's a conversation
Mm-hmm.
another day.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's sort of my journey this past few has been just uh honoring the new things, and I've learned so many things, just listening to what Stacy and listening to you and her, in your podcast, listening to the things that she has here. There always have room for growth,
Yeah.
and yeah, life is good if you allow it to be. Hmm.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. It's the
Hmm.
canvas you create. You're given a blank
Hmm.
canvas every day. What are you creating on that canvas? What are you
Yeah. Yeah.
creating? Stop,
Yeah.
pay attention, and ask yourself, what are you actually creating on that canvas? For me,
Hmm.
it's always, I'm too busy, I'm running out of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That has to stop for 2025. So, what's that for you? Ask
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. And that's the part of this journey where I'm at. I've first time in years that I actually took some time to just uh, put it in neutral and sit. Don't make any. I'm not making events. I'm not scheduling anything, but things happen. We're doing some ceremonies here. We're doing the podcast, but that's because it's a positive. It's positive, something good to do.
Mhm.
But I had to take care of myself. You have to take care of your inner self, your inner spirit, and it won't be long. We'll go get right back in there and still continue to take the self help and self care and keep expanding. So you might see me over there in a few years. We'll be going over there. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be epic, Fred. That would be
Right.
amazing. I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Yeah.
love that'd be
Yeah.
fun. Take you up into the hills in Scotland. We'll
Yes.
go hunting for haggis.
Oh, yes.
Ah, yeah, no, we will. It's really real, by the way. No, we
I'll have to
will.
work on the beard.
Yeah, we'll get you in your kilt. Hawkeye the
Silver
new.
kelp.
We'll get you standing up in the mountains with your sword going, Hawkeye the new.
Oh boy.
We'll get you over there, don't you worry. That's
Yeah.
coming. That is coming.
Laughter is good.
Yeah,
Laughter is good medicine. Yeah.
very good medicine. I have to agree with you there.
Yeah.
So, we're coming to the end. We've been on here for a little bit. So, Fred,
Yes.
any last parting words of wisdom or knowledge to share? Is there a message you would like to share with anybody watching today?
You know, we've been gifted so many different tools to help ourselves. One of our favorite one of my favorite ones, the tools is keeping things simple, is waking up in the morning and greeting the morning star. When you greet the morning star or you greet the sun coming up, you get to see the new blessings and new days are beginning. You know, what are you going to do with that new day? How are you going to change the darkness into light? How are you going to change those negatives into positive? Cup of coffee, watching the sun come up in the morning, and from there you just enjoy life, continue your days, and keep continuing to take care of the children because the children are our generations. They're our future, and they are watching us. You know,
Mm.
just like your daughter. You know, they're watching us in the backgrounds without you even knowing, and they're listening and watching. So that's what I ask, just to keep things simple as best you can, and honor the morning star. Mm.
Beautiful. Thank you, Fred.
But,
It's been
thank
so
you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to come here and, as Grandpa Wallace would say, thank you for allowing me to come here and saying a few words.
Mhm.
It's been an honor and it's been fun.
Yeah.
And it was a dream and we made it reality. And I learned a lot. I got to share quite a bit and I really enjoyed it. So thank you. You
Thank
give
you.
yourself a big hug. Again.
Ooh, big hug, booby hug.
Be, be, be kind to yourself.
Yeah, but can I also just say, Fred, that
Mhm.
thank you so much for taking the time and for taking the energy and for sharing your wisdom and your perspective and your knowledge with us all, because I know that that's sacred. Can I also say how proud I am for you for coming forward and for using your beautiful voice in helping the all and in helping humanity. I know this is a big deal for you. And like, I think everybody out there will agree he's done fantastically well, being that this is his first time. Am I right in saying so? Like,
Mhm.
thank you, Fred. It's like
Thank you.
it is a beautiful honor for you to come and do this with me.
Yes,
You got this, brother.
got it.
I know, I know. What is it? No, 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 no. Is that it? No, 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 no. Whee! Oh my Lord. I'm so sorry,
Yeah,
Fred.
it's it.
I
I
think you're
love
used
your laughter.
to
Love
it.
your laughter.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Even though I get told I sound like a hyena. But it's okay. I need food, right?
It, it is a spirit animal to somebody. Yeah.
There you go.
Try it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm a hyena as a spirit. Who knows?
Right?
Anyway,
Uh,
so I leave that with you all for episode 10 of Starflower Journals. I look forward to sharing episode 11 with you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your time, for taking your energy, and you know, take what felt right for you and leave the rest. Because remember, at the end of the day, there's no right, there's no wrong. This is a journey, a unique journey for absolutely everybody. And all we can do is do our best.
yes.
Is do our best.
Do our best. Perfect.
If you
I
don't
love
know
you.
what it is, you're doing your best. Okay. Right. Love you guys, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.